Welcome to Positive Atheism English channel. Today we shall know about what is atheism in brief, written by the Gora. Atheism is the opposite of theism. What then is theism? Theism means belief in the existence of God. But what is God? The form of God has changed considerably from the primitive, solid fetish to a metaphysical concept of the ultimate reality. Though the forms of God have varied widely, all the types have one characteristic in common, namely that God is superior to man. So, in relation to the God of his belief, a believer places himself in a position of inferiority. The prayer, "Thy will be done," expresses the believer's feeling of surrender and subordination to God. God is a falsehood. Does a God of any type exist at all? No. If there were a God which dispenses man's life, not to speak of other phenomena, then all our plans and endeavors, our moral being, and hopes of improvement lose meaning. But hope, plan, initiative, choice, and effort are realities of everyday experience. Their reality proves the existence of free will. Because free will exists, God does not exist, and the concept of an almighty God is clearly an absurdity. Why then have so many men believed in the existence of God so long? Belief in the existence of God is only an expression of man's slave mind. Slave mind seeks a prop, and an early prop on which the slave mind rested was a concept of God. Hence, in terms of the first prop, namely God, the expressions of the slave mind came to be known as theism. Later on, as men grew rational, not only the solid idol but any form of God, either as a benevolent being or as the ultimate reality, was exposed to be mere myth or an inference of formal logic. Now, the godless theism. When the foundations of early theism, which were based upon faith in the existence of God, were thus shaken by rationalist thought, people in whom slave mind dominated had to go in for props other than God. The new props are a government, an economic order, a social custom, a view of cosmic rhythm, belief in natural order, materialism, and the like. The modern man depends upon the modern props as slavishly as his forefathers depended upon divine mercy and God's blessings. He submits to totalitarian authority, chauvinism, casteism, racism, capitalism, dogma, and materialism no less than the devotees bowed down to their gods. Thus, the modern man is a godless theist. By and large, theism is the manifestation of the slave mind of man. The feeling of subordination is the same, whether it is to a god, to a government, to a custom, to an institution, to a system, or to a dogma. Atheism. Free will is as natural to a man as slave mind is. But in the early ages, when real knowledge was meager and social security was weak, slave mind dominated man's life, and so primitive people were largely theistic. Nevertheless, real achievement has always resulted from free initiative and active effort rather than from passive submission. Therefore, free will did function from early times too, though its voice was drowned in the din of theistic professions. As free will is the opposite of slave mind, the expression of freedom is recognized as a theism or the opposite of theism. Though atheism is negative in form, it is positive in content. Positively, it means the expression of man's free will. It is usual in etymology to connote the meaning of a concept as the opposite of its opposite, especially when the latter is more popular. Such are the words like fearless and non-violence for boldness and love. Atheism is a word of that kind. It is negative in form but positive in content. Atheism means free will. The rise of atheism. Theism and atheism represent two aspects of the same human life. Whereas theism is the manifestation of man's slave mind, atheism is the manifestation of his free will. Because both slave mind and free will occur in man's mental makeup, just as love and hate occur together, a man is both theistic and atheistic in parts. But progress of civilization requires people's effort and initiative, which are products of free will and self confidence. Therefore, atheism has always represented the progressive forces of civilization. Socrates, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, Marx, and Gandhi, whom succeeding generations revered as prophets of eras of progress, were regarded by their contemporaries as heretics, if not altogether as atheists. The atheistic content of their teachings set more men more free and contributed to the progress of civilization. In fact, the march of civilization has followed the rise of atheism. In the modern age, atheism is found prominent in every aspect of human life. Scientific outlet is pushing out superstitious belief. Democracy allows more freedom to citizens than monarchies do. The downtrodden are resenting imperialistic and aristocratic domination. Casteism and racism stand discredited in the forum of world opinion, and cries for freedom are heard all around. Yet the growth of atheism is hampered by hoary theistic habits. Conventional belief in God, however formal, prevents the full expression of man's free will, self-confidence, and active enterprise. The habit of allegiance to kings enslaves citizens to elect ministers also. The conflict between the theistic habit and atheistic need is the cause of cant, corruption, and discontent. Only avowed adoption of atheism frees people wholly from the oppressive influences of superstition, servility, capitalism, and discrimination. Equality. As atheism spreads and people feel free, equality prevails among them. Equality among people is fair and proper because all men resemble in strength and structure. There is not that natural difference between man and man as there is between a lion and a lamb. Further, the effects of variations in taste and talent can be smoothed through education and sympathetic accommodation. Though equality among people is thus desirable and possible, inequalities have cropped up since theistic beliefs suppress the free will in sections of the people. Exploitation and enslavement of fellow men are not possible unless the feeling of freedom is suppressed in some people. Atheism releases the free will and renders oppression and inequality impossible any longer. Then, equality in every aspect of life becomes the order of the atheistic way of life. Moral freedom. In social relations, freedom of the individual cannot mean lewd license. For the laxity of one treads upon the freedom of another. Under the theistic order of life, a few could be licentious since the others were slavish. Slaves make tyrants of fellow men, but when all feel free, no one will permit his freedom to be impaired by another. So, adjustments among free people impose moral obligations on everyone and develop checks and counter checks against lewdness in social relations. Obviously, the freedom of atheism is moral freedom. Every atheist is obliged to be moral either through self-discipline or through social control. Atheists are free, but free only to be moral. Thus, freedom, equality, and morality go together in the atheistic way of life. The atheist examines all aspects of man's life: political, economic, ethical, cultural, technological, and philosophical, with a view to promoting freedom, equality, and morality in every one of them. Now, we shall have to visualize the shape of a government in which citizens feel free and then work up to change the present form of politics into that new form. Likewise, we shall have to picture to ourselves the form of a social order of economic relations, of philosophical systems, of technological methods, and of a sense of beauty in which free will dominates the lives of people. Whatever may be the difference in detail of these several pictures, the common character of the atheistic forms of institutions and systems will be promotion of equality and morality among all people. Inasmuch as political authority is the most powerful factor at present in regulating our social relations, partylessness and pompousness of democracy is obviously the first step towards transformation to the atheistic way of life. And here ends the article on what is atheism written by Gora. And we'll meet in the next episode with another article. Thank you.
For more videos, please subscribe to this channel Positive Atheism and activate the bell icon. Please download Samaram multi-channel app and watch your favorite channels from your mobile. App available on Google Play Store and subscribe to the channels.